Hey, Justin Chamness here, and welcome back to another episode of the Lease Option live stream. This is an almost daily live stream where I come to you and talk to you every day almost about about lease option sandwiches and wholesaling lease options. But we've really been excited lately about sandwich lease options because sandwich lease options is probably the most profitable strategy in all of real estate. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm probably going to stir it up. Hey, if you disagree with me, go ahead and put it in the comments right there where you're watching, because I'd love to hear your perspective on things. But I could come at you with some data, but we'll talk about that at another time. But anyway, I'd love to have that discussion. But I think sandwich lease options personally is the most profitable and low risk and low money entry fee for you, the investor, strategy that there is in all of real estate. And so today, what I want to do is I'm going to share with you a cheat sheet that you can find readily available over at realestateWholesalersClub.com. And this is my strategy cheat sheet that's going to show you all the different strategies, not just lease purchase or lease option. It's going to show you subject to and wrap around and contract for deed and so on and so forth, other things as well. So I'm going to share with you this, but then after that, I'm going to start one by one going through some flashcards. Now, these are my closers flashcards. These are the objections the seller has. Okay, I'm going to start going through them one by one. And we're going to talk about them and explain them a little bit, because I think that's going to be more than interesting. But these are the exact words that I have used to close over 600 deals. Okay, so if you're interested in becoming more effective on the telephone at closing deals, then this is going to be really interesting. We're going to be diving into this today. All right, and then we're not going to get through. There's 70 cards. By the way, if you're interested in the cards, you can find those over at realestateWholesalersClub.com, and that will look like this. And when you slide down, you can see there is homeowner objections flashcards right there. When you click that, it looks like that. And holy moly, 70 flashcards. I've got a special going on right now for the holidays. If you've been wanting these cards, you can get these cards normally $97. Today, only $70. All right. So that's where you will find them. Feel free to put in the chat, any comments if you've gotten the cards already, because a lot of folks have already ordered the cards. We get a lot of positive feedback from them. They're gonna probably they would endure a nuclear blast. I mean, they're that hardy. You can spill your coffee on them, wipe them off. They're laminated all nice and everything. What's going on, Mr. Michael Batista? Hey, you got to hit that unmute button there, bud. There
Oh,
you
got
go.
it. Hey, man, good to
Hey,
see you.
see you too, dude. What are you into today?
Well, I'm only as strong as my coffee, is what it
Uh,
says.
I heard your coffee is gonna file a police report
It might. I
uh,
don't know.
because you mugged it.
Yeah, I sure did.
All right, that's a horrible joke. We'll try not to tell any more bad ones like that, more than another time or two.
That's all right. Love the setup you got back there, man.
Hey, thanks, man. I got my sandwich just in case I get hungry. I got my sandwich monthly spread. You see that?
Uh,
Sandwich monthly spread. I got that there.
Right it on there. That's great.
Because that's the best part. I mean, without that, the sandwich feels dry. You know what I mean? It feels
Oh,
dry.
yeah.
Are you
Then we're
oh
just
you
looking
don't eat sandwich spread, do you?
at. We don't really have sandwiches very often. We try to stay away from bread for the most part.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Well.
my wife's into the keto diet.
Whoa, yeah, man. That sounds like fun. That's like basically carnivore type thing, except not carnivore. Is that
Yeah,
right?
we're doing a vegan keto.
The vegan carnivore. but it's
Yeah.
not. So it's like vegan, but not carnivore, but basically the same. How are you getting the protein?
Um, that's, I mean, my wife's a doctor, so whatever it is that she,
Yeah.
you know, says, hey, this is what we need, and that's pretty much what she's kind of the food prep. She handles the nutrients in the house.
Man, that's a blessing, ain't it? That is a real blessing. My
It is,
wife is
man,
the
because
same way.
otherwise I just cook potatoes.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just bake potatoes all the time and throw a mixed vegetable medley on top and call it a day.
Yeah. That
That'd be
sounds
my
nice.
staple. That'd be my main meal, you know. But
Yummy. Delicious. Delicious. Hey, another thing that's delicious. Let me break in here real quick. This $29 ask me about my how to build your goals and plan for 2024. It's a 3-day challenge. $29. Anybody out there that wants to get in on this, there's still time. I haven't closed the gates yet, but I'm thinking about doing that because I want this to be a rather small, private, intimate thing with not a whole bunch of people. And we're going to do some writing and some thinking and some talking together. We're going to get a real solid plan for you, a day to day habitual, what I call habits, rituals, and routines for your everyday life next year. Because a lot of times we're frozen. Like, I want to do it, but I don't know what to do right now or first or today or the next step. And that's kind of what I'm trying to break through with you here at the end of the month. So you can go into 2024 super, super prepared and confident and excited with some momentum and inspiration and some good anchors, you know? You know what I mean? Some good anchors.
yeah.
I'm
I'm
kind of
wondering. I'm
looking
wondering
forward to that.
all of the videos that you have done on YouTube,
Yeah.
right? I'm wondering if there's a system that you can upload all of those to outside of YouTube that basically will just take all of your best talking points and just compile them into a book for you.
Oh my gosh. It would be like, it would be a hodgepodge potpourri book. You know what I
sometimes it
mean?
sometimes it feels like that when you're reading the Bible. It's all sort of different passages, just kind of, it almost looks like they're just kind of randomly taken and put together in a,
Yeah.
here and there and there, and it's not like one consecutive writing session. It usually doesn't look like that. Just kind of
Oh, well,
interesting.
no. Yeah. The Bible was written by, I don't know how many guys, 30, 40 something different guys. I don't know, but 66 different books compiled create the Bible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like to me, the Bible is the only book that when I read, and I read it, I try to read it every day, a little bit at least. And when I say a little bit, I mean a chapter or two, usually. Um, I try to read every day, and it's the only book I read that I feel like it reads me while I'm reading it. Like I really, it really takes me places internally, man. It's a great book, and
Almost like you needed to see the things that you just read
yeah,
in that
exactly, yeah,
particular perfect moment.
right, almost in a supernatural feeling type way, if that makes sense.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I promised I was going to give this away today, and I'm going to this. I'm going to share screens real quickly, and this here is the strategy cheat sheet for all different types of strategies. This is what I use to kind of understand and what I use to learn and understand and kind of still remember what to do when it comes to, different strategies.
Mhm.
And this is available over at realestatewholesalersclub.com. If you just go to realestatewholesalersclub.com and scroll down, you'll see it there on the first page. Right click, save save target as or save picture as. If you're on
God, this
mobile,
is
just
good.
just hold down, and save it on your mobile device. It's a picture, so save the picture as. So, but anyway, it's a nice big big picture, so you can print this out and all that, and it looks pretty good, but even in black and white. But you can see here it breaks down all cash offer. That's everybody's staple. The cash offer ugly house usually. Then the straight subject to. Then what is a wraparound and the seller carry back and a what is a seller carry back subject to hybrid. Okay. What about installment for deed or contract for deed? Lease purchase is one that's my favorite. This is a gateway drug. Why do because lease purchase is a gateway drug, man. I'm all about the gateway drugs. No, that's not true. But it is a gateway drug for other because you won't be involved in being successful in lease purchase very long before you start questioning, hey, can I keep some of these longer? Yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so straight option. But anyway, one of my favorite parts, let me just point out, one of my favorite parts of this cheat sheet is this whole row down here that says the question. And this is what you need to ask the homeowner to see if this strategy type will work for them. Okay. Pretty cool. So like if we look at lease purchase, Mr. Homeowner, if I pay your monthly PITI, listen, if you don't know what PITI means, just Google it, but it's payment, interest, taxes, and insurance. This is his monthly nut. Mr. Homeowner, if I pay your monthly nut, you can say it like that if you want to. Weird, but you can say it that way. Cover all repairs. Will you allow a 12 plus month lease and allow us to purchase within that time frame? See, that's the question. If he says no to that, then a lease purchase ain't gonna work. If he says yes to that, you might be like, oh, okay, great. Then I know I'm in with a lease purchase with this fella. But let me go ahead and test the waters on a seller carryback. Well, sir, would you take your equity as a small down payment and the rest of the purchase price in installments? Okay. So you can get that at realestatewholesalersclub.com. Pretty cool little cheat sheet to have if you're trying to learn the different strategies and how to keep them separate and what they do. It's a quick reference point. I want to go through some flashcards here today. We've got about 15 minutes left on our half hour. Michael Batista, I'm so happy you're here, dude. What can I do to help you today, too?
Man, that's a big question. Like I said, I'm working on my book right now, and I had just thought about just randomly, the amount of videos that you've made, and I said, I didn't know if Justin had made a book or if he just made all these videos, but I said, imagine if you could just take all those videos and turn them into a book too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there is some AI technology out there that they're coming up with that does some things like that, and I've heard some other guys posting around about it, but I've not
Yeah.
really looked into it. I don't think my video quality. See, the problem is I ruined myself. I read a book one time, and the book was like written in such a way that I got the sneaking suspicion after like I don't know 10 or 15 minutes of reading this thing that I'm like, this sounds like a speech the guy gave, and it got like translated into a book somehow. And then I read more and I was like, yeah, this is definitely like a speech he gave or a few speeches and they mashed them together into a book. And when I felt like it was, it's strange that when I felt like that was what was happening, that I suddenly didn't like the book all of a sudden.
Hmm.
Because I was like, it didn't feel like a real book. It felt like I just threw together a book that I didn't really put any time to really. When I merged all of the stuff together and printed it out as a book, it didn't really gel like a real book would.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Not a lot of great editing there for sure. It sounds like
Yeah, that's
that's that's
yeah,
part of it. That's part of it. It's like the artist's ability to blend, textures and colors together just the right way that it makes it feel like it's all supposed to be part of it perfectly.
yeah,
And
yes.
that's the mastery.
They Garth Brooks I'm not necessarily a big Garth Brooks fan, but Garth
Yeah.
said one time in an interview that great songs, and he's had a few, if you look at the charts, right? He's
Yeah.
had a few. Great songs, he said, aren't written, they're rewritten over and over and over again before you ever hear them the first time. And
Yeah.
man, that just seems so true, rings true to me because I feel like a book would be the same way. A book is not just written as one inspired work, unless you're one of the authors of the Bible. You're probably going to write it and then rewrite it and then rewrite it, then rewrite it until you refined it to a place where you feel like, oh, well, this is my best work, you know.
Hmm.
And when I was reading that book, I didn't feel like it was, you know what I mean? Like I felt like, it's a bunch of hobble jobble jumble mumbled together. But here's how we would apply the same principle in real estate. If you're getting into real estate, it's not the one property deal you looked at. It's the property deal you looked at after you looked at that last one, and then the one after that, and the one after that, and the one after that. On and on and on and on and on. It's looking at property deal after property deal after property deal that makes you a property expert in investing
Hmm.
whiz. You start seeing opportunities where people don't. Okay, so I think that's how that rule applies in real estate. I don't know if somebody's out there watching wants to put in the chat. How do you feel like it applies in real estate? Because I think it probably applies in every area of our lives. Um,
When you underwrite a deal, for example, probably the best way to best way to describe that when you first look at it, you're like, I don't even know if this price that they're asking is somewhat reasonable. Like if that's the way that you're questioning it or approaching it, you're at that point
yeah.
in your underwriting ability to not even have a clue. I mean, you pretty much, once you understand where the underwriting is or what you need to do for the first steps, you really never question it quite like that. It's a different set of questions. There's a different level of questions because you've been able to get beyond those beginner questions.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know, there's layers, the depth
Yeah.
questions, mastery questions eventually, where you might only have to
Yeah.
ask one thing.
I was looking at a property deal this morning that had um man, Zillow has really helped us out. And that is because when you go there, you slide down a little bit on the property listing and it'll have Zillow pricing or it'll have pricing history. And you can see, oh, this dude had this house for sale for this long at this time, and then he lowered the price or he raised the price, or then he took it off the market and then he listed it for rent for this, and then he lowered the rent. And then you could drag
Yeah.
right there, that tells a story, you know. And you can tell a lot from that. You can tell a lot of times if this is an investor that owns it or if this is a real homeowner. A motivated homeowner acts differently than a greedy investor would. So there's some
That's an interesting idea. Is just what does motivation versus greed look like?
yeah. Well, you can tell when you're looking at the Zillow history and the property was listed for X amount of dollars and then it goes up 25,000 and then it goes back down and then it goes off the MLS and then it's X amount of dollars for rent and then it goes down and then it goes back on but but it's
Yeah.
always overpriced. Always through that whole process.
Oh yeah.
That that person's that's a dead ringer for an investor because he's looking trolling the waters like a catfish looking for a small fish to eat. And unfortunately that can't be us if we're looking to make a profit. So
Right.
right.
He's thinking more. He's more the lines of an investor. Um, but he is just the homeowner. You know, he doesn't know where he's going to put that extra 25K. He just knows that he wants it in his bank account.
Yeah, so a homeowner, yeah, will act differently, but that whole Zillow history is really, really
Yeah.
it's really it will tell a story, and if you read it and you think about it, like here's an example, I'll maybe give a real deal, real world example of this one later this week. But for example, well, maybe I should just wait until then. I probably should. So let's do that. We'll wait till then. But I'm thinking about just doing a real world deal example like that and showing everybody how you would read the Zillow history. All right, because the Zillow history is pretty big, pretty big. Tells a story. Here's a big question folks ask: what happens if the tenant buyer you put in the house stops paying the rent or moves? Now, this could be not just lease purchase tenant buyers. This could be a maybe a subject to assignee or something. This could be whoever you're putting in the house. So let's not get too locked into the words on these flashcards. What happens if the tenant buyer or the person you put in the house stops paying the rent or moves? That's a good question. So the answer is on the back of this card, and it is, and I'll just read it word for word. I do not see that happening, Mr. Homeowner. The people I want to put in there want to be homeowners. Sir, we do a 2-year rental check to make sure they have a good track record with previous rentals, employment and income verification, criminal background screen, and credit check. They will also have visited with a home loan expert and have a plan to qualify for the home loan in the time frame we are discussing. If I were to draw up the paperwork today where you have the ability to approve or disapprove this candidate, would that make you feel comfortable? And would that be something we can move forward with today or maybe not? Okay. All right. So that's pretty good, man. I mean, that's a wordy explanation, but I'll tell you this one here, you're going to get this question in almost every call. Almost every call. What happens if the tenant buyer you put in the house stops paying the rent? So these flashcards are for sale. They're $70 as opposed to 97. The next one here is when the homeowner says, "Look, we're just shopping the market. We just want to see what we can get for the house. We are in no hurry or rush." Okay. Here's what I say. Mr. Homeowner, I understand it seems like you're looking to see if you can get a top of the market offer. If I made an offer today that was full asking price, what would you say? Okay. You might also say, if I draw up the offer for your full asking price, would you consider doing something creative with me for the next 24 months? Sir, let's cut through the baloney of purchase price problems. What's it going to take? That's a good way of saying it too if you're a country boy. Okay, look at the next one here. You're not going to lowball me, are you? You're not one of those pesky wholesalers. Okay, sorry, that one never really got into focus. But remember, I was telling this one the other day. I love this one. This one says, "No, you're gonna love me." Remember that? No, Mr. Homeowner. Are you gonna lowball me? You're not gonna be one of those pesky wholesalers. You're the 27th person that called me this month. No, you're gonna love me. Say it just like that too. Well, look at that. It
Yeah.
says, no, you're gonna love me. I don't need to lowball you, sir. I'd like to ask you a few questions and make an offer that's more in line with your asking price. Is that something we can do, or is this over? Blasted out of the water. All right. Let's take a look at this next one. Where did you get my phone number? Where did you get my name? How did you get my information? Now the back of the card says this, and I'll just tell you, I say something a little different sometimes, but I do say this too. The back of the card says Google, public record. I don't know. My partner gave it to me and said it had something to do with real estate. He knows I buy houses. Is there something that you and I can talk about concerning real estate? I'm looking to buy something.
Nice.
Sometimes I change up that first part and I just say, my mom gave it to me. And they're like, your mom? Who's your mom? You probably don't know her. She's old, but she knows that I buy houses. And so she gave me this one to call. Is there something about real estate you and I can talk about? Because I'd like to talk about buying something today. Okay, so in this deck of cards, we also have some closing setup questions. These are important questions that you need to know because they help you get to the point. Okay. Like, for example, what if that wasn't true and I could make it better? What do you say about that, sir? In other words, when they got some big complaints, they got some big things they don't like. Well, I don't like the fact that this contract says in paragraph 8, the blah, blah. Yeah, Mr. Homeowner, what if that wasn't true and I could make that better? What do you say about that? Do we move forward? See how easy this becomes when you just know the right sentences to say. Okay, so that's the point of the flashcards, everybody. Let's do a couple more. All right, let's do another closing setup question. Here's another closing setup question. What would make this work better for you, Mr. Homeowner? What would make this work better for you? Yeah. What do you say after that, after he answers that question? Okay, Mr. Homeowner, if I put that in our agreement, does that mean we have a deal? You see how close you are to closing? One more. Why do I need to tell you why I'm selling? Why do you need to know about my situation? That has nothing to do with the house. I'll tell you what, you don't have to be in this business very long before you hear that one. Why do I need to tell you why I'm selling? Why do you need to know about my situation? That has nothing to do with the house. The answer is, I understand, Mr. Homeowner. I'm a private person myself, and I want to make sure my offer fits you perfectly. What is the most important things to you in a buyer? What is most important to you in a buyer? Let me read it again. I understand, Mr. Homeowner. I'm a private person myself. I want to make sure my offer fits you perfectly. What is most important to you in a buyer?
See, this is really good too because it doesn't just work in single family. A lot of these guys in large multifamily, they might not be hedge funds, but they still might have a 50 unit, 100 unit, and they still are mom and pop owned. I'm not saying that's what this group or what this channel is
Yeah.
all about, but
Yeah.
eventually at some point, people can understand and learn to unlock
Yeah.
not just the ability to wholesale really, really high dollar deals, but the questions are almost the same. So
Right.
you're
Exactly. Yeah.
you're literally learning to dribble the basketball. Doesn't
Yes.
matter what game you play, whether you're out on the park or you're in the professional game. It all
Exactly.
requires to be able to dribble the basketball. This question right here taps perfectly into that. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I agree. The answer here, I understand I'm a private person myself. I want to make sure my offer fits you perfectly. So what is most important to you in a buyer? Now when he answers that, you say, if I can do that, you're saying I'm your buyer? See how close you are to closing? Now, if I can do that, if I say I can do that, are you saying I'm your buyer? Okay. These are some pretty powerful ones. You know what I recommend? I recommend you get a couple, 2 or 3 of these decks and put them one in your truck, put one in your bathroom when you're taking a Duke. You can go through here and learn something. Okay. You can wipe them off. They're wipe offable. So if you get a little smudge on there, you can take care of that. But nevertheless, have a couple sitting around different places so you can grab one. If you're going off to work or somewhere for the day, grab one, stick it in your pocket every now and then, take it out and read it. Read it out loud to yourself a few times every day. You do that, you'll be through them in 70 days. You'll have them all memorized. How's that? $70. A $70 solution for becoming a whiz kid on the phone. Okay, everybody. I love you. I'm going to let you go for today. Don't forget about our $29 goals 3-day challenge here. Okay, if you want to get involved in that, there's still time. I'm probably going to cut it off sometime next week. Okay, so you got through this week and maybe the weekend before I turn it off and stop accepting new applicants for it. It's $29. You pay, you're in, but I don't want it to be a massive thing, so we're going to keep it so intimate and sweet. It's going to be so valuable. You're going to be like, holy cow, I got $29,000 worth of value for $29. Yeah. That's the goal.
Jeez. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Is that ongoing up until you said next week? And then is it like a small group, or is it like, hey, this is a private thing up to that point? Like, what does that look like for people?
So there's a limited number of seats available in the 3-day challenge. So that's why I have it capped off. We have honestly about 4 or 5 seats left. And if you want to reserve a seat, anybody, you can, but that is when it is full because it needs to be an intimate, small, we're working on you kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be able to give each person that comes some of my individual attention, because your goals and dreams are not something I don't think we should try to put them all in a can. I think we should set them free. We should drive them up into the woods and open the car door and be like, you're free, go,
That's pretty good.
Well, why do seagulls fly over the sea? Seagulls. You seen, seagulls. Seagulls are one of my favorite bird. It's kind of a pretty bird, if you ask me. If you go to, if let's say you go to Orange Beach or Pensacola, they'll laugh at you. They kind of make this laughing sound, and it's a remarkable bird. But why does a seagull fly over the sea? You don't know? You're lost on that one. Because if they flew over the bay, they would be bagels.
That's true.
Oh, that is so true. That's what makes it so good.
That's true.
All right.
Nice.
Hey, man. Hey, I love you, dude. I'll catch you tomorrow. Is there anything else I can do for you today, Michael? Anything I can do for you today?
No, I'm good, man. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
It was fun hanging out with you, dude. Thanks for hanging out with me, man. We should do this more often. All right.
I'd like to. All right, man. You have a good one.
You too, man.